Good evening. Hi there, folks. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I'm coming on a couple of minutes early to say thank you to the early birds for coming on. We've got Kate in the room, Annie, Callan, Donna, Alison, Laura, Rebecca, Sue, Tess, Marion, and a few more coming on through now. So well done to you guys for coming on early. I always just like to get in a touch early just to make sure you can hear me okay. If you want to just pop in the chat box that you can hear me okay, that would be wonderful. And whilst you're waiting, I just realised I put a post on my Facebook page that I've been sending this out to my email list, but not to the people on my Facebook page. And so I'm not sure if you're not on my Facebook page, maybe go along, if you're on social media, that is, go to facebook.com/MarcusDPearce, although based on that performance, I forgot to put a post up for this webinar on that page. But if you engage with me on email, but not on social media and you'd like to, I'm getting into Instagram a little bit, but I'm on Facebook most of the time. So if you haven't liked my public figure page there, then by all means, pop along and do so. So really looking forward to tonight. It's going to be an absolute perler. We've got a few more people coming in now. I'll get underway in about a minute's time. I'll just make sure we've got everything else covered off here. You can see I've got a haircut. If you were here last week, you know I had big hair last week, but I was doing a podcast, doing a 100 Not Out recording with Damien Christoph. When was it? Monday. And he had the nerve to call me Kramer. He called me Kramer, so thankfully for me and Damo and you guys tonight, I had this hair chopped off yesterday. And so I'm no longer Kramer. Come up with another nickname for me if you like. But back to the short hair, ready to go. All right, a few more coming on now, which is great. I'll give it another short while. Good on you, Rebecca, hearing me fine. Test loud and clear. Good on you, Sue, you can hear me. Donna says I'm sounding good. That's the way. I tell you what, I'm so excited for this webinar. I put down in my diary today that it would take me 2 hours to put the final preparations on it. I've been going flat stick on this webinar since 9:30 today. So it's been, maybe it's Parkinson's law, maybe because I had all day to actually refine it. The perfectionist in me went a little bit nutty, but I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to presenting it. So it's going to be a perler. All right, let's see here. We're just ticking on 8 o'clock. I just want to make sure, nothing like getting in late. I see everyone's chipping in now, so it all starts to come on. We'll get underway in almost, I think I'll get underway in just a tick. Everyone's starting to jump on board now. It's amazing what happens when 8 o'clock hits. It almost doubles in number just immediately. So, alrighty, well then, let me hit record and we'll get underway. I'll get everything ready here. We'll make sure we've got, where are we? 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, so first things first, I better do a big welcome to every single one of you because 1, life is busy. 2, I had a look at the stats leading into tonight's webinar. For those of you that don't know, I did this webinar last week and the response was absolutely massive. I thought, you know, there's a lot of people that weren't on the webinar, so I'm going to do it again, particularly at this time of year. There's a lot of holidays and you know, schedules are really out the door, and there's nothing like being on a webinar live. So I thought I'll do it again because the response was great. And what amazed me was that about a third of the people that were on last week's webinar registered for tonight's webinar. And I have to commend you. If you're on here for the second time, put a note in the comments box. Tell me if you're here for the second time tonight, because if you are, that is absolutely phenomenal. Tony Robbins would be very impressed with you because Robbo would say repetition is the mother of all skill. And we teach our kids practice makes permanent. So I really want to commend you guys, for particularly those that are here for the second time. Absolutely phenomenal effort. There's a lot of webinars going around at the moment. There's lots of people doing webinars. Obviously, they're a really great way to communicate outside of a live event. So really want to welcome all of you guys. First time, second time, whatever it is, I want to welcome you because it's not easy to make the time to put time into yourself. We've all got busy lives, so I really appreciate it. All right, now what I also said last week is that I am going to present a lot of tonight from slides because if you know me just from podcasts or just personally or through anything that I do, if you've read my emails, you know that I can talk. I'm a talker. So I did slides for the first time last week. Normally I would do this for webinars with a few slides, but after last week's feedback, everyone loved the slides. So I'm going to do the same again tonight. I'll present from the slides. I'll come back to you throughout the webinar just to engage with you and the rest. But I'll present the content largely from the slides tonight. What I will recommend, any questions that you have, put them straight into the chat box. Good on you, Laura, second time here. Well done. Thank you, Barbie. Like the clean shave. I was actually a little bit nervous about that last week. I was on holidays. Well, last week was first week back, but, you know, working from home, I'll tell you right now, I shave twice a week, max. So I'm glad you like the clean shave. I had that yesterday. Good. Alrighty. So it's interesting what we notice, isn't it? Hi, Barbara. I hope you like the short hair too, because last week it was big. Alrighty, folks. So I'll get underway. For those of you that know me relatively well, if it's a bit repeat, apologies in advance, but I know there's a number of you on here tonight that are here for the first time, seeing me, listening to me, and I appreciate that trust, because as I say to anyone who's never met me before, you'll never get this time back again. Alrighty, so let me share my screen with you guys, and I'll get this webinar underway. Alrighty, let's go. Here we go, the one. Okay. All right, I'm sure you can all see that. Hopefully you can. So first things first, welcome to the one. As you may know, I'm the CEO and the executive producer of the Wellness Couch Podcast Network, founder of the Exceptional Life Blueprint. Tonight's webinar is called The One, How Doing Less in 2015 Will Give You More of a Life. It doesn't really make sense, does it? But after what I'm going to share with you tonight, hopefully you can really get an idea that simplicity in 2015 is going to bring a more fruitful year. Now, tonight, what exactly are we going to cover? I'm going to go through the following. Why complexity is the enemy to life fulfillment and how to fix it. Why most people are running around like headless chooks and don't even know it, and I'm serious about that one. How a genius in one of the world's most prestigious companies made billions doing less rather than more. How to set your own life up in 2015 to create experience and have more fulfillment than ever before, and I'm serious, yes, by doing less. And I'm going to share with you the slightly weird morning ritual that works wonders for me, and don't worry, it's very private. No one else will see you do it. None of you will actually see me do it as well. All right, so who am I? Most of you will know me, will know some parts of me, but I'm big on manners. My mum taught me manners a lot when I was growing up, so it would be a little bit impolite if I didn't properly introduce myself and share just some of my story with you. So here we go. First things first, I wear two major hats in my life. One of them is CEO of the Wellness Couch Podcast Network. If you think of a podcast network as an online radio station, we've got 9 podcasts and 9 shows on a range of different topics. We get about 1.25 million downloads a year from the Wellness Couch Podcast Network. So in our view, it's the #1 podcast network in the country, possibly even in the Southern Hemisphere, and it absolutely has a fabulous following. If you're not into the iPhone or smartphones, if you go to thewellnesscouch.com, you can check it out there. I co-host 2 of these podcasts. One is with Dr. Damien Christoph called 100 Not Out, Mastering the Art of Aging Well. Another is Inside the Champion's Mind, helping you overcome mediocrity in the pursuit of being world-class. That is with Dr. Lawrence Tam. I'm a journalist by trade. I've got a background in print, radio, and TV. So everything that I do is really about filtering information to make it easy to understand, more common sense for people. That is really my drive. When I was growing up, all I wanted to do was be the next Eddie Maguire or Bruce McAvaney. I was obsessed with football. Some would still say that I am. And though that, it kind of became quite clear at some point in my life when I was about 13 or 14, I would never be a professional football player. I then thought the next best thing would be to commentate football. So how did it all happen? I really wanted to be, as I said, the next Eddie Maguire. What ended up happening, to cut a long story short, is my last gig in the media was in TV, and that was working at the Footy Show. That was me. Well, if you don't know who these guys are, I better explain. This is Gary Lyon and James Brayshaw, who now host the Footy Show. My last show at the Footy Show was their first show. So Eddie's last year was my first year, and then he became CEO of Channel 9, and that all went very bell out for poor old Eddie. But about 15 months before this photo was taken, I met my now beautiful wife, Sarah, who really did help me see the light on a lot of things in life. You women are absolutely incredible beings. Sarah, she's 2 years older than me. I always call her the older and wiser one. But 6 months before this photo was taken, Sarah and I had gone vegetarian. We'd ended up losing about 7 kilos. So in this photo, I was 75 kilos. But again, 6 months prior, I was 82. But in this photo, just to let you know, I was still smoking. I was still binge drinking. I went to the gym, and I kind of figured that was my healthiest habit. But I was a bit of a gym junkie kind of guy. But, you know, going vegetarian and doing some things was a big step for me. Even going to the gym was a big step for me because, as you'll see in the next photo, and you'll get a laugh out of this, I was not always a very active kind of guy. Have a look at this. This is me in 1999. This is my year 12 photo. So I love having a good laugh at this now. Feel free to laugh all you like. I really actually draw a great deal of satisfaction out of the fact that I really did take my life in a better direction than really where it was heading. Look where it was heading right here. This photo shows to me how average Marcus could have turned out. As you'll see tonight when I go through the foundations of living an exceptional life, I really was anything but exceptional. I knew I wanted to be a journalist, but that and probably only my social life were about the only exceptional things I had going for me as an 18-year-old. I didn't exercise, I ate terribly, I fought regularly with my family, I had no real idea about financial independence. My spirit was entrenched in the Catholic school system, which wasn't a bad thing, but I was very naive about spirituality. I struggled to have a girlfriend, which as an 18-year-old really is your worst nightmare. When I look back at it, if I didn't make the effort to begin learning about exceptional living, I really think I would have adopted the belief that average is acceptable, mediocrity is manageable, and I would have just lived that average mediocre life. If you're wondering what that D and TT stands for on the pocket, it's a very proud moment for the Pierce family. I'll be telling Darby that his dad was the school captain of the table tennis team, and he was also a little bit of a debater. Yes, Sam Whiteman, a young Marcus. I don't look like a footballer, no, because I was no good at it, Summer, don't worry. Alrighty, so next slide. I'll leave that up so you can have a little bit more of a look at it. Oh, wow. Alrighty, so let's have a look here. I think, anyway, I'm a much healthier, happier, more inspired guy than I was 15 years ago. So you can see us there with the family. But I suppose I want to say is it didn't happen. You know, it's a bit like the Pantene ad. It didn't just happen. It took a lot of learning, a lot of application. That's probably a big one. A lot of application, a lot of mistakes, you know, changing of peer groups, bringing new people into my life, a fair degree of heartache, a lot of personal growth, a lot of money. I'm going to a lot of courses, a lot of expenses, but really best money I've ever spent. But I really think what has taken my life to the next level has been a constant curiosity to always want to grow and improve. Again, as I said, as a journalist by trade, I've done a heck of a lot of research over the last 12 years and particularly over the last 5 years. And that's led me to share the type of information which I'm going to share with you tonight. So for the sake of time, I'll end my story there. I'll move into the content of tonight's webinar. But if you want to know more, particularly about how I came to be sharing all of this, if you go to the exceptionallifeblueprint.com.au, there's a video series there, a 4-part video series. I'll put the link in the chat box, and you can get a real deep dive on what I'm going to share with you tonight. But again, how I've come to really be so inspired to share what it takes to live an exceptional life. So I'll put the link in here. All right, a couple of comments there. Great family shot. Thanks, Seth. All righty, let's have a look here. Righto. So next slide for you folks. Alrighty, so let's go through. What am I all about with the Exceptional Life Blueprint and tonight's webinar? First of all, my vision is to help as many people as possible to live truly exceptional lives. When I mean exceptional, I don't mean mediocre, average, ho-hum, status quo. I don't mean famous, I don't mean infamous. I mean honestly fulfilling, sensational, magnificent lives that lead by example and leave a legacy that you can be proud of. And I don't just mean exceptional in one area of life. This is a real bugbear for me. Not just work, not just family, not just nutrition. This is a mistake that a lot of people are making today, and it's proving disastrous. What I mean is that I'm dedicated to helping people completely integrate the 8 areas of exceptional living, which I'll share with you shortly, into their life. This is not easy. It's not an overnight solution. However, in my view, it's the only option when we make the decision to be the absolute best versions of ourselves. Settling for anything less is mediocrity. We've been shown the way by people living exceptional lives today, millions who have gone before us. You may know people in your own life that you know, particularly by the end of this webinar, you know are true exceptions to the rule. They left us their clues and their wisdom, and I've dedicated the last 12 years of my life to putting these clues into a way of living that anyone can follow. If you've listened to any of the 100 Not Out podcasts or watched the videos that I was just talking about, you know the people that I'm talking about. I do this through an 8-step process called the Exceptional Life Blueprint, which again, you will get the bare bones of tonight. Now, some of you on this webinar are familiar with this work, some of you aren't. So, you know, again, apologies for those of you that are familiar with it. There will be some repeat, but again, repetition is the mother of skill. At the end of the webinar tonight, I'm going to go through an announcement about the Exceptional Life Blueprint, which has been based on a lot of feedback that I received from you guys since the launch of the Exceptional Life Blueprint in September last year. Now, let's move on. This whole webinar was really inspired by this book by Walter Isaacson. It's the authorized biography of Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs allowed Isaacson into his life, and Isaacson recorded a wonderful memoir of Steve Jobs. And I had the privilege of reading this book over the Christmas, New Year holidays. If you're a bookworm, I highly recommend giving this a shot. Now, it's important that I give you a brief summary of this to really go into the nuts and bolts of the webinar, because while Steve Jobs did a great job at keeping things simple at Apple, his life away from Apple was very complex. Let me give you some examples. He was given up for adoption. So here he is with his adoption father, Paul. He became a father when he was 23 and when he was about to launch Apple, and he essentially did the same thing that his dad did to him when he was born. He abandoned his first daughter, Lisa, essentially ignored the fact, went to court to deny that he was the dad, and didn't really connect with Lisa until Lisa was 8 years of age. He followed Zen Buddhism, as you can see with the minimalist layout he had in his home here, but he was really anything but Zen in his temperament. So he had a lot of conflict going on there. And then in his diet, he was often in a fast phase or a cleanse or detox phase of some kind. And when he wasn't, he was known for consuming the same foods for days on end, particularly a carrot salad with lime juice. If you've seen the Hollywood movie where Ashton Kutcher plays Jobs, Kutcher often spoke about how sick he became when he was adopting the Jobs diet to, I suppose, get an insight into more of what Jobs was like. And it really was quite an extreme diet. So it was quite clear from reading the book that there was significant conflict in Jobs' life, and that was probably or possibly because, or that possibly why Apple was such a great company. He escaped the complexity of his personal life for the simplicity of his work, but he seriously had massive challenges in integrating all areas of his life. Now, I'm not saying this as a dreamer, as a highly optimistic person. If you know me, I am optimistic and I am a glass half full kind of guy. But what I do want to say is that we have no doubt allowed our lives to become more complicated than what they really need to be. And it's this unnecessary complexity that I want to address tonight. So let's start off with the first point: why complexity is the enemy to life fulfillment and how to seriously fix it. I'm going to briefly continue the Jobs story for a moment to begin this point. When Jobs returned to Apple for his second act in the mid-1990s, so he got kicked out of Apple in the mid-80s, returned in the mid-90s, he immediately got rid of the noise or the fluff. Now, in real life terms, it seems rather brutal, but he got rid of over 3,000 jobs and almost $1 billion in expenses. He cut out the crap. He started focusing on what he had done previously that had worked. He got rid of the crappy products, which again, on a sad kind of level, meant that a lot of people lost their jobs. But his big thing was that all he wanted to do was focus on making great products. He didn't focus on profit. He focused on quality. And even when you think about Apple today, we all recognize that Apple is a quality product. And that was Jobs' that was his chief aim. He wanted to create great products. Now, when we look at our own lives, we want each area of our life to be quality. Every single one of us wants a quality life. We want our life purpose to be quality. We want our nutrition to be quality in order to make one quality life. But when you think of this, when Jobs was designing the iPhone, it wasn't just the iPhone. It was about the quality of each component. He wanted everything inside the box to be beautifully designed and composed. It was the type of metal used, the finish of the casing, the touch screen interface, the processor. There were lots of components, but it was all focused towards one product. Now, your life right now is your product, and each section of your life must be truly masterful. Now, I know you might be going right now, particularly, it's a little bit of an overwhelming time in January. We've got so many big goals and dreams, but you might be going right now, Marcus, my components suck though. My life purpose sucks. My exercise sucks. My social life is average. My nutrition's gone downhill. My family's struggling. My relationships are average. My learning and curiosity is non-existent. My financial situation is dire. My spirit sucks. I'm just sucking right now. But guess what? And I don't mean to sound brutal, but it kind of is. You'll find a bit of brutality in this webinar. Clarity is power, and one component at a time. To be clear on where you are right now is absolutely vital, and that's what I'm going to do with you in just a moment, is to take you through a process to get absolutely clear on where you are right now so that you know what your one is, your one area of massive focus for 2015 is. That's one thing which I can tell you right now you will have by the end of this webinar. So think about this statement that you see on the slide here. So this was an excerpt out of the book. One of my mantras has been focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean in order to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. That for me is absolutely powerful. Think of this. Simple can be harder than complex. Think of all the areas of your life. I'll give you some examples. Have you ever had all of your receipts in a shoebox and found it so overwhelming to consider putting it into a simple little folder in alphabetical or date order? Or have you got 1,000 different logins and passwords and usernames with all this complexity? Would be so much easier with this one username, one password. Have you a million ideas for your life, yet struggle to get just one of them into action? So we've got complexity in our thoughts and we struggle to get simplicity in our actions. Let me take this a step further. Do you have a daily to-do list? Worse still, do you have a to-do list with no order? Now, for the average person, it could have 5, 10, 20 things, 20 to-dos on that list for any given day. Now, not that this is a practical solution, but in terms of the way we think, I want you to think of this. What if, instead of having one paper with 20 items on it, which is what most people have with a to-do list, what if you had 20 pieces of paper with one item on it, so 20 sticky notes with one item on it, and you didn't move on to the next piece or the next sticky note until that first task was done? If you don't have a vision or a goal that lacks clarity or definition, if you can't put it into words, it's complex. If you've got a to-do list that doesn't have any sign of order to it, then it's complex. And obviously, when we have complexity, we end up with overwhelm. Overwhelm is nothing more than a mixture of thoughts that haven't been actioned. Overwhelm is simple thoughts all put into a puzzle, all put into a recipe, all put into a Thermomix, and we come out with complexity 101. Now again, I know this sounds simplistic, but the first thing I'm going to say tonight is all about simplicity. If you suffer from overwhelm, I'm telling you right now, please, please, please write things down. If it's planning your day and numbering each item on your list and then putting an asterisk next to the items that must be done, because you'll realize on your list, if you've got a list right now, if anyone here, put in your comments box, do you run off to-do lists? I'd love to know. Are you a to-do list kind of person? If you do, how do you do it? But here's my suggestion, because what I find is, like, I love productivity programs. I love organizing my day. I love my lists. I'll show you my list from today just to give you an idea. But where else? If you have a to-do list, most people that I speak to, even my coaching clients, I still remember, you know, when I first launched the Blueprint, I was doing coaching calls with everyone that had, you know, started. People were showing me their to-do lists, and there's no order. And you know what? These are people that have signed up for the Exceptional Life Blueprint. If you're already watching this webinar, I'm telling you right now, you're already in the top 5% of people that want to create an amazing life. There are a lot of people out there that want to have a great life, but they're not willing to do the work. If you may have seen one of my emails, there's a lot of people right now watching the tennis or the cricket or whatever else is on TV tonight. You guys are here doing this webinar. So what I'm going to say now is, if you have a list, order it, asterisk it. Let me take this screen share off for a moment. Let me bring this up just to, am I on screen share? Here we go. All right. So can you see this? And again, I'm not saying this to boast. I'm just saying this to show you what I like to do. Can you see there? You see numbers. You'll see a duration time, like 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. See the big one with the line through it? That said 1 hour. I was going to give myself 1 hour to complete today, to complete the webinar prep, and it took me all day. But the asterisks are the most important. They are the things that must get done, So think about that, because that is complexity 101. It might seem a bit boring that I'm talking about to-do list, you know, on this webinar, but seriously, guys, you're creating your day, and then your days are creating your week are creating your month is creating your life. So have a serious think about how are you living your days. Let me get this screen back up, because again, I'll go into ad-lib mode, and you guys that know me knows what happens when I go into ad-lib mode. So let me bring this back up again. All right, so we're going to write it down, aren't we, folks? We're going to write it down. Everything that must happen gets written down. Any thought that comes up gets written down. If I have thoughts and I don't have pen and paper with me, I send myself an email because I have a rule. I action my emails. I've got 15 emails in my inbox at the moment. I had something like 2,000 unread emails at the end of last year, and I realized that my life was absolutely flying along as it was with 2,000 unread emails. So I marked them all as read and started again, and I've got 15 now. And now 15 will get down to 0 by the end of tonight or tomorrow. And this is if I've got a thought that comes into my head and I don't have pen and paper, I send myself an email, and then it will go onto my list, and then it gets done. Now, this is the kind of stuff that I go into in much more detail in the Exceptional Life Blueprint online program. I go into it for about 2 whole hours, but the main takeaway here is when in overwhelm, write it down. Some people, and you might be on this webinar right now, some people love to think everything in their head. They're thinkers, their days are in their head, their weeks are in their head, their months are in their head, but that generally leads to stress, lack of sleep, anxiety, feeling scattered, feeling overwhelmed, and really more than anything, just feeling unorganized. So I've got some great comments coming in here. Rebecca says, I have a weekly to-do list for work, a mix of small to-dos and bigger projects. It seems to work as I often have to jump around from one thing to the next, and stuff will always unexpectedly come up, of course. I highlight the most important tasks that have major deadlines. That's great. So you've got a system that works for you, Rebecca. This is the most important thing. If you have a system that works for you, absolutely. That is so that, whatever works is the best. Barbara says, I achieve much more with a to-do list. Don't need to prioritize it, just work on what I choose at any given time. So yes, and whatever you're working on, and this is probably one thing that I learned from Brian Tracy, is the number one thing, and I've had this conversation with a few people this week who have been feeling a little bit scattered. The number one thing with your list is look at your list, and if you have your list for tomorrow already, or even have a look at your list for today, the most important thing, what Brian Tracy calls your frog, the most important thing that must get done on that day must be done first. So I have a client at the moment who's writing a book, and she's been having difficulty getting momentum on writing that book. And so it became very clear that she was doing other things in her day other than writing the book. So I said to my client, I said, young lady, 1 paragraph a day. Let's not get overwhelmed by a chapter a week. 1 paragraph a day, and it's the first thing you do. Once you're up and everything else, you don't do anything else. You don't check emails. You don't do Facebook. You don't do any other stuff. 1 paragraph. And then everything after that paragraph of the book is a bonus. That's what Brian Tracy would call eating that frog. It's what I would call doing the absolute most important thing to you in your life right now at the beginning of the day. Most people have the important things in their life at the very end of the list, or worse, not even on the list. And you know what a list is like. It's easy to get the easy things done. It's harder to get the hard things done. So that takes a lot of discipline. Okay. Now what happens? If we don't have a list or some kind of system to make our life simple, we don't deal with this overwhelm very well. We end up having a story, and often it's longer than the book you see on the screen here. It's longer than Tolstoy's War and Peace, about all the things going on in our lives and how busy we are and how much we're struggling. And this truly becomes a part of our reality to the point where we adopt what Martin Seligman would call a learned helplessness. We honestly believe there is nothing we can do about it because that is just us. That is who we are. We say, I'm a procrastinator. I am lazy. I am fat. That's just who I am. However, if you are on this webinar tonight, I can guarantee you that you have had some major victories in your life and some major losses. What they tell you, all of these lessons tell you, is that life changes. You were fat and you're now slim. You were slim and you're now fat. You were poor and you're now rich. You were rich and you're now poor. You were happy and you're now sad. Whatever it is, nothing stays the same. Absolutely nothing. You saw my year 12 photos. I was chubby, pimply, pasty. I'm not chubby, pimply, pasty anymore. Everything changes. It's the nature of life. Everything changes. So instead of a war and peace filled with excuses and alibis, pardon the brutality, but excuses and alibis, nobody likes them, why not adopt a simple mantra or a belief and repeat that little baby over and over again until that becomes your story? It's a very short story. It might be something like, enjoy the little things, or people are just as happy as they make up their minds to be, or I am loved and I love unconditionally. It could be one of these, like, everything goes right for me. This too shall pass. There's perfection in everything. My mantra is something like this: There's perfection in everything. Even if I have no idea what it is right now, and even if I'm angry about it or frustrated about it, I know that there's perfection in it, and I just have to come to peace with that, because the longer I don't, then the harder it's going to be. That's a bit of a longer mantra, isn't it? But you get my drift. Maybe your mantra is, I am courageous, I am organized. Now, what I say is here, don't get me wrong, I know all of these suggestions and ideas aren't always possible, or they might not even be necessary for you, but you get my drift here, right? If we just give up and don't even work on simplicity, then what happens? If we just give up, what do you think happens? You probably know the feeling. It's we end up as one of these. It's not pretty. It's not fun. Headless chook syndrome. For me, it's not planning my day syndrome. If I've just been a little bit slack, it might happen on a Sunday night and I don't plan my Monday. It doesn't happen very often. It might happen once a year. But if I don't plan a day, I'm a headless chook. And then generally, I'll let that fly for 20 minutes, half an hour, until I realize, right, Marcus, focus, plan, one task. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Focus, focus, focus. Alrighty. So why most people are running around like headless chooks is because we've never been taught otherwise. And when we've never been taught otherwise, we therefore don't have a clear goal or a purpose. We're running around like a headless chook. We don't know the rules of the game. We don't know the rules of the day. We don't know if we're winning or losing. We may have done all these amazing things in the day, and we get to the end of the day and we're actually not really content or fulfilled, because we've got 5 things on our list uncleared, that we haven't put a line to, and think, oh, I didn't get everything done today. But you may have moved mountains on that day. Sure, your list wasn't complete, but you may have done the most amazing things. You may have done something fabulous with your children. You may have caught up with a friend for lunch and totally helped them out. You may have done some phenomenal things at work and absolutely changed people's lives. You may have connected with your husband or your wife, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your partner of any kind. You may have had a wonderful day, but just because your list wasn't completed, you give yourself a hard time. Now, again, we make it very easy as human beings to beat ourselves up, and very hard to be nice to ourselves. Don't let your to-do list be the master or the ruler of your happiness. Here's the challenge though. No one, particularly in 2015, is ever going to tell you to stop running around like a headless chook, because we have all been taught to be headless chooks. We've all been taught that it's noble to be busy, that it's noble to have a to-do list, that it's noble to be flat out. Whenever you ask someone, how are you going? It's like, are you busy? How are you? Keeping busy? What if you're not keeping busy? What if you're slack as they come and you're just enjoying things and you're actually not busy? And fancy that, hey? But look, we've been taught to write down our to-do list without a second thought on pretty much the most important action of the day. We never really think about what we want. We mostly get up and go, what have I got to do today? So again, headless is being busy, not doing much. The exceptional question at the beginning of each day, better yet, before you go to bed at night, is what do I want out of today? Not what have I got to do today? What do you want? Be absolutely selfish. Do you want to catch up with girlfriends for coffee? Do you want to have quality time with your kids after school? Do you want to live in a nice, clean home? Do you want to strengthen the relationship with your partner? What do you want? Far better question than what have I got to do today? Now, if this is new to you, put it down in your diary for right now. Like, write it down on every day. What do I want today? What do I want today? What do I want today? So you have a pattern interrupt to the thinking, because it's a whole shift of thinking from what have I got to do to what do I want. And when I go through the 8 areas of life here in a moment, you'll be getting a really clear idea of, well then, okay, I'm beginning to get an idea of the 8 things that I want in my life, and then you get an idea of the 8 things that you want in your year, and then the 8 things that you want in your month, and the 8 things that you want in your week, and the 8 things that you want in your day. Sounds simplistic, but again, simplistic is more difficult than complexity. So are you up for the challenge? Let's see. Let's set our life up in 2015 to create experience and have more fulfillment than ever before by doing less. Are you up for it? Let's see. Let's begin now to focus on the one area of life that is more important for you to excel at in 2015 than any other one. To do this and to get clear on this, I'm going to run through the 8 pillars of the Exceptional Life Blueprint. Your job here is to work out if you are the exception or the rule. You will end up giving yourself a score. If you are the exception in 8 areas, you give yourself an 8 out of 8. If it's 5, you'll give yourself a 5 out of 8, and so on. Now, please do this. Have a pen and paper or note it down on your phone or wherever you are. Please do this. I'm going to ask you to comment what your score is at the end of this process. So I'd really love for you to play the game. Alrighty. Now, the first pillar of the Exceptional Life Blueprint is your life purpose. Now, I'll kind of explain why at the end of this, but just for now, if you're new to this whole Exceptional Life Blueprint, kind of just roll with me, and then I explain it all in those 4 videos which I spoke about at the beginning. But I'll run through it all here in a brief kind of format so you can get these scores down and we can really make sure we get what we came for this webinar. So the first pillar is your life purpose. If you love what you do during your waking hours, whether it's as a mum, a lawyer, a bricklayer, a cleaner, a gardener, an accountant, whatever it is, if you absolutely love doing it, then you are the exception. If, on the other hand, work is simply a vehicle to pay your bills, in other words, you work to live, then it's the rule. This is what most of us have been taught to do. So give yourself a score. Are you the exception to the rule? Do you love what you do, or are you simply working to live? And again, this isn't you're a good person or a bad person, right person or a wrong person. We want to get an idea of right now, where are you in your life? So don't get too emotional about this. Just give yourself a tick or a score. The second pillar of the Exceptional Life Blueprint is your movement. Most people don't exercise. 75% of Australians do not exercise, which is yuck. If you're one of the weird ones in the 25%, you're in the exception. Give yourself a tick or a score. If you are exercising regularly, I'll call it 5 days a week, you're exercising regularly, you're in the exceptions. If you are exercising because it's a lifestyle choice, this is probably more important. If you're exercising because it's a choice, and it's a lifestyle choice, you're the exception. If you are more like the rule, if you do, I'm going to get fit for summer, or I'm going to lose weight for a wedding, or I'm going to go on a diet because it's new, or if you find yourself going from fad diet to fad diet, that's more the rule. Okay, so if you're kind of working out where you are, I'm talking fad exercise to fad exercise, not fad diet to fad diet. I was getting confused there. So just work out, is your exercise a lifestyle choice, or is it a have to? The third pillar of exceptional living is socializing. We know that people who socialize and have poor diets, get this folks, because this freaks a lot of people out. People who socialize and have poor diets live longer and better lives than people who don't socialize and have great diets. Now, this was done at Harvard, done on 7,000 people in California. The results of this are absolutely fascinating. This is done by Lisa Berkman, who's done a number of fascinating studies on the power of social life. But community literally has immeasurable health benefits. The same goes for family, which we'll get to shortly. So how is your peer group? Are they empowering or disempowering? Do you have a social group, or is yours social media? Now, again, so many people really been taught that social media is a form of social living, but it's not. You do not get the same health benefits out of an active social media life. So many people now have got 1,000 friends on Facebook, but very few real friends in real life. So social media doesn't count. We are the average of the 5 people we hang around. So have a think about this. Who do you hang around? Maybe write them down right now. Write down the 5 people. Now, you might need to separate it. 5 people at work, and then 5 people in family, 5 people in your professional life, and 5 people in your personal life. Write them down and look at them. You're the average of those 5 people. How does that make you feel? As Tony Robbins would say, I'm giving Robbo a few quotes tonight, aren't I? But as Tony Robbins would say, the quality of your life is the quality of your peer group. So if you want a better life, you really need a better peer group. It sounds brutal, but give it some serious thought. Now, let's move on. We've looked at the 3 most important areas of life that control quantity of life, okay? So doing what you love, moving regularly, social living, they are what gives you a great long life, okay? So find your passion and inspiration, move your body regularly, engage with others. What is interesting in all of this is that food doesn't enter into the Exceptional Life Blueprint earlier. It freaked me out when I was doing all my research. It freaked a lot of people out when I first shared it with them, but most people believe that eating well is the most important part of living a great life, yet you know what? Nothing could be further from the truth. Now, bear with me here. You may know people who eat well yet hate their life. You may also know people who eat well yet are very lonely, and you may also know people who eat well and do not exercise. What alarmed me the most when I first began researching the principles of exceptional living is that people that live these great, long, and dignified lives don't necessarily have the cleanest diets. They're not paleo or vegan or jerfers. They're not just eating real food kind of people. What they did, what they had in common, was that they had these 3 pillars, this life, purpose, movement, and social life. That is what gave them their great long life. But then when you dig deeper, it's quite clear that those that eat well, that has allowed them to have more freedom and more quality of life, more independence. They can travel easily. They can do what they love. They can do what they want more easily. Okay, so every one of us on this call, I'm sure, would prefer quality over quantity. As I say, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow and died, it would be much better than having 15 years of morbidity, which is the Australian average these days. I don't want to be, in a nursing home on 13 medications for the last 15 years of my life, and I'm sure no one on this webinar wants that fate as well. We don't want to be stuck in a home at 90 or 100 without our independence. What we want, if we're going to improve the quality of our life, this is where nutrition comes into it. Now, most of us have been brought up on everything in moderation. We eat a processed diet containing highly processed carbohydrates, genetically modified gluten, trans fats, and we call this, in the Western world, everything in moderation. What is staggering is that 4% of us, that's right, 4 out of every 100 people, but of course, everyone on the webinar does this, 100% of us on the webinar does this, but only 4% of Aussies eat the 2 and 5, 2 pieces of fruit, 5 servings of vegetables each day. That makes 96% of people not doing it. So if you're like me, you kind of shudder at what they're putting in their mouths. People who live long lives and do it well, they eat whole foods. They eat seasonally. That is, they're not eating mangoes in winter, and they eat simply. They don't have meals with 25 ingredients, that they can hardly pronounce in their meals. Refreshingly, exceptionals aren't on a diet. They aren't addicted to one way of being. They will let their hair down every now and again, and they won't give it a second thought. So, where are you? Are you the rule? Are you eating a processed diet, or are you the exception? Give yourself a score. If you have a slip up every now and again, but you're the exception the rest of the time, then you are the exception. This is what exceptionals do. They are not 100% paleo or 100% vegan or 100% any other diet. They are real food, seasonal food, food that is non-processed. The processing happens at home when they cook the food. They just eat simply. The common sense diet, hey? So give yourself a score. Next is family. Most people feel like their family is getting in the way. They're either in the way of their dreams, they're getting in the way of their work, they're getting in the way of their social lives, they're in the way on Christmas Day, or in the way because they're the in-laws. Many people see family as a source of friction rather than a source of love and contentment and safety. Where are you in your family life? And I'm talking about your intimate relationships, your relationship with your parents, your grandparents, your children, siblings, your in-laws. Are you the rule or are you the exception? Great work, Emma, seeing some comments coming through here. You're very happy with your nutrition. Nice work. You are definitely the exception. It's a great feeling in any area to feel like you're on the right track. If you're anything like me, it's great to know that you're on the right track, because a lot of people are so confused these days. Well, what is the right track? And again, everything that I'm sharing with you here, this is not my message. This is the message from everyone that has gone before us and from people that are living legends today that have come up in all of the research. So Summer says, what if you're in between? What if you exercise because you have to, because you're supposed to be healthy? Well, look, if that's where you start, good on you for bringing this up, Summer. If you need to start because you need to know the consequences of not exercising is so bad that you go to exercise, then go for it. I'm a little bit like this myself. I exercise because I love it, but I also exercise because I know dementia is the number one, exercise is the number one preventer of dementia. What we've found, not what we found because I don't do the research, what the researchers have found, this was even shown in the Herald Sun in 2013, people that have the most active lifestyles have the lowest amount of beta amyloid in the brain. And beta amyloid is the protein that is, I'll just take my screen up here. Beta amyloid is the protein that builds up in the brain that is the precursor, or like the measuring, it's a yardstick for cognitive decline, for dementia, and then dementia into Alzheimer's. So when you go and have tests done and all the rest of it, if you went and actually had a scan, you would actually have your beta amyloid tested. What we've found, again, what they have found in their research, the research was done over in WA, is that the people that have the most active lifestyles have the smallest buildup of beta amyloid. The people that have the least active lifestyles have the largest. Now, for me, when I interview people and I ask people in my talks, what scares you the most? Like, what do you least want to die of if you're going to die of any of these, what I call the A, B, C, Ds of aging? Most people, their greatest fear is dementia. Now, if you are fearful of dying of dementia, Get moving. I don't care whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. Get moving. Get moving now, because it takes between 20 and 50 years for this beta amyloid to develop in the brain before we can actually detect it. So by the time it's detectable, it's actually been building up for between 20 and 50 years. Could have been since you were 20. So get moving. This hit someone between the eyes last week. They were like, okay, Marcus, I'm going to do it. You got me. If this is you and you are not exercising regularly and you're not finding, what is it that's going to make you do it, maybe this little known fact will make you do it. I wish this was promoted more in the mainstream media, but it's not. Dementia, the biggest preventer around brain cognitive decline is exercise. Move, 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 move. Emma says, find something you love to do for exercise. Totally. Good on you, Emma. Find what it is you love to do. You might have to go and do 10 different forms of movement, Summer, before you find your one. It can be like this with your life purpose as well. Try before you buy. Go to a yoga class. Go to Pilates. Go to Zumba. Go to table tennis. Go to a running class. Go to the local tennis club and play tennis. Do indoor soccer. I'm doing AFL 9s up here in Byron Bay. It's non-contact AFL footy, and I love it. So generally, the people that love to exercise the most, there's a social aspect to it. I've got people in my family, I used to do it as well, that love riding. I think if Sam Whiteman, if you're on tonight, if Sam's on, Mel Martin, my auntie Mel by marriage, loves riding more because of the social side of things rather than the exercise itself. A lot of exercise is loved because of the social aspect. All right, let me go and share the screen again. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you've got your scores handy. Water ski, good on you, D. D's going water skiing. All righty, so we've gone through family. No, you are gonna love learning and curiosity. Let's go into the next phase. Jean Calment, the oldest woman ever to live, 122 years, 164 days. She drank 2 glasses of port wine every day. She ate chocolate every day, and she took up fencing when she was 85. Here she is, fencing at the age of 85. I am not joking. She was riding her bike age 100. She released her first music album age 121. Let me put this YouTube link in there for you folks. If you want to go and listen to Jean Calment at the age of 121, go have a listen to that at the end of the webinar. She never, ever, ever stopped learning. As the philosopher Seneca said, learning is life and life is learning. When you look at the most exceptional people ever to live, you can see why this is so true. Most of us, though, are taught to stop learning when school or university finishes. We decide, be it consciously or not, to stop learning, and this can be fatal. So what are you doing? Are you learning new and exciting things right now that challenge you? You're on this webinar, so this is great, right? Personal development and professional development. If you're on this webinar, that's a great start. There's 22 million Aussies out there tonight, many of them watching TV, and they'll be watching TV for another couple of hours. They could, in fact, be improving the quality of their life in more empowering ways. So give yourself a score. I'm loving that you guys are engaging with each other on here. Get a Fitbit challenge, friends and family. Tony, thank you, Flick, for your suggestions. Amanda says, find something to incorporate into your day as well if you feel like you don't have time. Park the car away from work and walk in the morning and afternoon. I love it. All of these things. You know what, that parking the car thing comes up a lot, but it's so true. I love parking the car far away. Sarah doesn't love parking the car far away, maybe because we've got 2 young kids, but I think it's an absolute perler. All right. I'll grab a sip of water. Hopefully you do the same. All right, so give yourself a score there. Let's move on to the next one. Money, money, money. Look at this. Financial independence. Most of us spend more than we earn. Most of us have nothing for tomorrow, and most of us have never been taught financial literacy, namely saving and investing. When you look at the figures, right now in Australia, we spend $114 for every $100 that we earn. In Australia, there are 15.6 million credit cards flying around. Each one of them has $3,000 plus on them, 3,151 to be exact. That is, folks, if you do the maths, $49 billion worth of Australians spending more than they earn. Now, here's the deal. I'm not saying that credit cards are bad. I will tell you the honest truth, though. I don't own one. I don't use one. I don't want to own one. because there's a rule that goes something like this: when the money is there to be spent, we will find a way to spend it. I tell some great stories in the Exceptional Life Blueprint program about this. More importantly, though, I go through a 10-step process based on timeless wisdom to create the financial independence that every single one of us deserves. Whether someone's on $300 a week or $30,000 a week, the rules are still the same. If you're a bookworm and you want to read a great book, I highly recommend The Richest Man in Babylon. I'll pop it in the chats. Richest Man in Babylon. It's a short read. You'll read it in a night. If you want to learn some of the wisdom of money, The Richest Man in Babylon, I could not recommend highly enough. But I mean, just for my own personal life, I had a bank give me a $28,000 credit card just before going overseas in 2006. What do you reckon happened to the credit card? What do you think? I tell stories in the Exceptional Life Blueprint how Sarah and I crawled our way out of $55,000 in bad debt. That was far more than the Australian average. And I'm not saying this is a sob story. I'm saying this more as a story of being able to say, I have been there. I know what it takes to get out of it. I felt the pain of being one of those statistics. It hurt so much that I'm never going back there again. But as I say, this is not someone's, this is not a random thing. This is 15.6 million credit cards in Australia. So if you are the rule, don't worry. There's a lot of people out there in the same place. But if you have a burning desire to be the exception, then consider implementing the mindset and the philosophies and the rules that go with being the exception to the rule. Okay, so the next step, spirit, soul, faith. And then we're going to wrap all of this together. Most of us have a threshold to our belief systems around others and ourselves. We believe in good and bad. We believe in right and wrong. We believe in peace and war, love and hate, yes, no, any other duality that you can think of. However, the spirit, and I don't mean to sound too woo-woo here, the spirit sees no limits, carries no thresholds, there's no boundaries. Our soul sees there can be no peace without war, there can be no light without dark, there can be no love without hate, there can be no happiness without sadness. I know it's deep and meaningful, it's 10 to 9, it's a little bit woo-woo on a Wednesday night. All I ask you to do now for the sake of the webinar is to give yourself a score. You'll know the answer. Do you see people and events as good and bad? Do you love peace and hate war? Do you think people are good people and bad people? Do you think some people are just sad and others are happy? Do you honestly believe within yourself that there is perfection in everything and that you can fully subscribe to the mantra that everything happens for a reason and a purpose that serves you? That would put you in the exceptional. If you have difficulty kind of absorbing that, then put yourself in the rule. Now give yourself a score. So there's the blueprint. If you haven't seen that before, that is the Exceptional Life Blueprint in a diagram. Where are you at? Where are you at? You see the non-negotiables to quantity of life there. You see the quality accelerators. Give yourself a score. Give yourself a score. I'd love to know your scores. If you're happy to pop them in the comments section, that would be awesome. But the big question is, what are you the rule in that is causing you the pain? What do you know that is just not up to the standards that you have for yourself? This is what requires a lot of honesty. But seriously, and I'm dead serious, this is the key to raising your 2015 to exceptional. I'm asking you for some accountability here. If you're happy enough to write it down in the comments, what are you the rule in that you know if you were to change in 2015 would have a dramatic impact in your life? What you're already exceptional in, you already do automatically. I can almost guarantee that, unless you are newly exceptional at it and it's not yet really a big, habit. Then it might not be automatic yet. But most people that have been doing things on an exceptional level for a long period of time already do it automatically. So look, Emma says 3, sad face, but Emma, you're already kicking butt in 3 things, all right? There's no good or bad score here. There's no right or wrong score. Knowing where you are right now, Kate says 4, Mel says 7, Susanna 6, Amanda 7, and every single one of you that has a score here, you know that there's been times out of your life where you've had a higher score and times out of your life where you've had a lower score. So don't worry about the score. Just be happy that you've got some clarity here. And what you are missing, that missing 3 out of 8, or that missing 5 out of 8 for Emma, don't worry. Flick's given herself 33 with a question mark. So Flick, just to go through it again, if you're exceptional, give yourself 1. If you're the rule, give yourself 0. Okay, so then you're either going to get a maximum 8 out of 8 or a minimum or lower score will be 0 out of 8. Donna says 6 out of 8, financial and some family members work to do. Tony says a 6. Susanna says finance. Rachel says 6. Good stuff, guys. Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for playing full out. Really think it's awesome. Tess, gave myself a half each for food next time because I have good and bad days. All right, Tess, I'll be working on you there. I'll be working on you to get a full score, but that's all right. For the sake of the webinar, you know where you're at. All right, so now I want you to work out what is your one. Some of you have said what your one is. Purpose. Finance needs a lot of work, says Emma. Flick says life purpose. My experience is that most people really are struggling more with life purpose than anything else. It seems to be the top and tail. If I just bring that slide again, it's the top and tail that most people struggle with the most: life purpose and money. Obviously, everyone struggles in different areas at different times of their life, but they seem to be the two that are the one for people. But what I want you to do right now is work out what the one is. Now, Summer, there's the pyramid. Maybe just take a screenshot of it, Summer. So if you're on an Apple Maps, press Shift Command 3. If you're on a PC, press print screen, because I do need to go to the next slide. So what is your one? Okay, this is very important that you get to the one. This is the one area that will make your 2015 more exceptional, give you more satisfaction, more fulfillment, more joy than anything else. If you're truly committed to being the exception to the rule, to absolutely being the best version of yourself, whether that's as a parent or in your work or in your family, for yourself, whatever identity it is, you must identify what your number one is, and then you work hammer and tong to make that exceptional in 2015. But here's the problem. Here's the problem and the dichotomy of this entire webinar, and pretty much been the problem that has been plaguing me for the last 12 years. I'm telling you right now, and I'm suggesting that you focus on one element of the blueprint or area of your life that you are the rule in. However, what I know from my own personal experience and in speaking with many people who have joined this Exceptional Life Blueprint program is that they want life integration. We all want life integration, and life does demand more of us than just living one area. In fact, the consequences of excelling in only one area are absolutely disastrous. If we rock in our family but we suffer in our nutrition, then who wants a parent with preventable chronic disease like obesity or heart disease, or who just wants an unhealthy parent? If you're a parent and you've been sick before, whether it's from a cold or a trauma or a chronic disease, you know how much it affects your ability to be a parent. So yes, focusing on one area in any given moment is vital. But when that one area becomes exceptional, what's going to happen? You know that you're going to make, and you're going to want to make another area exceptional, and that is the nature of the beast. That's how us human beings are wired. We are constantly wanting to grow and evolve. Now look, some people are growing and evolving right now by watching the tennis or their favorite TV show, and that's cool for them. Others are wanting to grow and evolve by constantly improving themselves. A lot of those people are on the webinar tonight. So if you're kicking butt in one area, you then want to kick butt in the next area, whether it's your wealth or your nutrition or your life purpose, etc. And that's really why I created this Exceptional Life Blueprint program. When I created it, I had other experts in their field telling me that it wasn't niche enough. They said, Marcus, it should be about health, or it should be about wealth, or it should be about relationships. But again, time and again, I see people who try and niche their life and they suffer. We see it with celebrities, we see it with sports people, we see it with everyday men and women, and it's a never, ever, ever a happy ending. I'll repeat what I said earlier. The people who have excellent diets and crappy social lives live longer than those who have excellent social lives and average diets. And if you only focus on one area of your life, there are consequences. If you integrate each area of your life, and yes, those with excellent diets and exceptional social lives, they are the ones that do live longer and better. So when our focus is on making each area of our life exceptional, then the results are truly outstanding. So the Exceptional Life Blueprint is about focusing on each area, yes, one at a time, but as the name of the program suggests, creating an entire exceptional life. That's right, Summer, life isn't just about one thing, but a lot of people think it is. A lot of people think it's about money. A lot of people think it's about food. Now, having studied hundreds of exceptional human beings like this beautiful 110-year-old lady, Alice Herz-Sommer, who up until the day she died, she was the oldest survivor of the Holocaust. Alice said, you know, I have no room for pessimism or hate. You know, she had no hate for Hitler. She lost family members in the Holocaust. If you look at our good old Aussie battler, Jack Lockett, he died at 111 and experienced the trauma of World War I. And for what it's worth, for the men on the webinar that want to know, Jack is the only male in the top 20 oldest Australians ever to live. But you see a pattern here. If you look about Ruth Frith, she won gold medals galore in her hundreds, and she lived to 104 on a diet of no vegetables. And she said when she was interviewed, you can YouTube this, it's certainly not vegetables because I don't eat them. That's what she said when people go, Ruth, how are you living so beautifully? Now, you just have to ask yourself, well, I have to ask myself as a journalist, you know, what is the pattern here? And then again, the researcher in me recognizes that there is a pattern to people who live exceptional lives. There is a recipe that has an order and a sequence to it that no one is talking about. I am hell-bent on teaching these principles to as many people who will listen, because these days we are seriously taught to lead mediocre lives. Mediocre lives do not feel good in the moment, and they certainly don't feel good at the end of our life. I've often said this. I talk about this book very often. I'll pop it down in the chat here. The top 5 regrets of the dying. Oh, I just put in the top 4 regrets. The top 5 regrets of the dying by Bronnie Ware. If you Google Bronnie Ware, you also know we've interviewed her on 100 Not Out. But it's a great book. And you know what, guys? The people that don't follow the pattern to living an exceptional life, the biggest regret that they have is that they didn't live their life according to their own terms. They didn't do what they wanted. They did what they thought they had to do, or what, you know, they woke up each day and said, what have I got to do today? And then they get to the end of their life and they're like, why didn't I do what I wanted? And then they live and they die with that regret. This is what we do. We get taught to get a job for 40 years. We don't really love that job. We then get taught that exercise is not that important. It's just for athletes. We get taught that social media is okay in favor of a social life. That's not true. That everything in moderation is acceptable. Again, not the case. That having average relationships based on tolerance and compromises is okay. That pressing pause on our brain's capacity to learn once school or uni is over is okay. That spending more than we earn is okay. And that having unrealistic expectations on others and ourselves is acceptable, which again could not be any further from the truth. So my question, what side of the fence are you on? What world do you choose to live in? Which again, for me, that is essentially life's most important question. What standards are you going to have for yourself in 2015 in each area of your life? I've asked you to raise the standards of at least one area of your life tonight, but most people live in the average, mediocre, status quo world. And in Australia, we have this wonderful phenomenon called the tall poppy syndrome for anyone who tries to make their life too exceptional. So the traps are there, folks. But as I often say, the trappings of an exceptional life are absolutely incredible. When life can be lived with the contentment and satisfaction and joy of doing what you love and loving what you do, with the energy, strength, and sharpness of mind from exercising regularly, with the joy and the connection of socializing, the vitality, the connection and variety available with exceptional nutrition, the magic of family, the fulfillment of learning, the choice and freedom that financial independence brings, the ease and calm that an exceptional spirit, soul, or faith allows. This is the way forward for an exceptional life, and this is my invitation to you to join me and my fellow exceptionals on this incredible journey. So, what does this exceptional life blueprint look like? Let me take you inside it to show you what it's all about. I know we have a number of exceptionals on the webinar tonight. Tony said that the ELB has made a huge change in my life and I'm loving it. Highly recommend it. Telling anyone who will listen to me. Thanks, Tony, you absolute legend. All right, so here it is, the Exceptional Life Blueprint. It's an online program that you get to have forever. It's not one of those programs where you sign up and it expires after a certain amount of time. It is yours to keep. Pass it down to your children for generations to come. I want these principles of an exceptional life to be shared forever. My vision for the Exceptional Life Blueprint is that whole families begin to understand the principles of exceptional living and that they apply them in their own lives. So the program is designed to be a 90-day program. However, you can do it in any time frame that suits you. You can consume it in 90 hours, you can consume it in 90 days, 90 weeks, 90 months, whatever works with your lifestyle. Now, let's go inside the program and have a look at it. Each module, as you can see here, contains at least one training video, which you can also download to an MP3. You can listen and complete the program anywhere, anytime. Each video normally lasts for anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. With each module, you receive a worksheet to help you complete the program and a fact sheet to further explain any content that I have delivered. On top of that, you receive recommended reading, recommended podcasts, and recommended YouTube videos to go along with it. So everything's really well laid out. You can explore the sections that you want to learn about more vigorously, it's all there for you. This is my life's work. So, I'm a humble guy, but I must say I'm absolutely thrilled with what I've been able to put together here. And again, based on the feedback, I'm really happy with obviously what is involved in the program. There's 3 feature interviews in the program itself. One is with the Bali Bomb survivor and mindset master Karen Smith on your life purpose. That has gone down a treat. The people that have been responding to that video are absolutely loving it. Changing Habits founder and nutritionist Cindy O'Meara goes on nutrition, but she really talks about integrating this whole blueprint into your life, because Cindy, for me, is a modern day living legend. She is absolutely excelling in all 8 areas of life. I interview world record holder and founder of 28, the gorgeous Kim Morrison. Now, these 3 girls who I interview do a 1-hour podcast every week, and they can talk. But I really wanted to talk to them about topics that, again, in my view, aren't really being talked about much at all. So that's the online program side of things. There's training videos, worksheets, fact sheets. They make up the core of the program. Then you have the recommended videos, podcasts, and reading to go along with it. In addition, you receive an accountability email for each module. And what's proving to be one of my favorites is our secret Facebook. We have a great tribe on there of people eager to help others live exceptional lives. We have a number of exceptionals on this webinar tonight. So again, I ask you guys, if you're happy to share, that would be awesome. Your experiences of being in this Facebook group and how you're finding it. The Facebook group is absolutely wonderful. Now, this is it. It's a 13-week program, but again, do it in however long or short you like. 14 modules. I'll put a bonus module in there. Weekly videos with experts. A download onto MP3 version as well. Weekly worksheets, fact sheets, information on all the topics, resources, and the rest. Regular accountability, Facebook groups, so on and so forth. Now, let's get a couple of things clear here. The major purpose, I'll go through how you can access the program in a moment, Summer. The major purpose of this program is really, from my view, to provide you with 3 essential outcomes. First of all is clarity. The clarity on each area of your life. Life's purpose, your movement, your social life, your nutrition, your family, your learning, your financial independence, and your spirit. Secondly, I want you to have the confidence that you are living an exceptional life and therefore on the path to a long and dignified life. Just like you've already got the confidence of those areas that you've already spoken about. So if you're a 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7, you've got confidence in those areas of life that you are already exceptional in. That feels good. That confidence then, if you are the rule in an area, if you don't have confidence in those other areas, the program is designed to provide you with the tools and the peer group, either your own or via the exceptionals, to help you turn it all around. And then the third outcome, as I've just mentioned, is that you get the results. If you look at what your one area of life is that you have identified tonight, if you don't have the clarity or the confidence that you can and will achieve the result you are after, then the Exceptional Life Blueprint could be what helps turn it around. Now, I'm not saying this as pie in the sky kind of stuff. Since the Blueprint launched last September, there have been some incredible stories. Here are just a few which I'd love to share with you. First one here. This one comes from Michelle. I've always been pretty savvy with money and have made some good investments. However, your module on money and your recommendation of Tony Robbins' book has made me reevaluate things, put a budget together, start researching investments. I've also started doing a huge amount of reading around nutrition, wellness, and I am loving it. The Blueprint has inspired me to find my life purpose, and I feel the universe is pointing me in a direction which I am passionate about. Thank you, Michelle. Next, we go to Nicole, who says the Exceptional Life Blueprint is unlike anything I've done before. It's new and relevant to so many aspects of my life. Marcus is well-researched and really comes up with the goods to challenge your thoughts and the way you live your life. Support from other exceptionals is a valuable bonus. I like that you can work through the program at your own pace, but that doesn't mean your interest wanes. It's all good stuff. You just want more. Who have we got here? Audrey says, I'm absolutely loving the ELB. The caliber of the content contained in the program is truly phenomenal. The training is informative and engaging, and I love that I can download parts of the program onto my iPhone and head out for a walk whilst learning how to live a truly exceptional life. Thank you, Marcus, for designing such a unique program. I've become an addict. Good work, Audra. And then lastly here, Cheryl says, I would call the Blueprint retraining your brain, giving up your old thinking, giving yourself permission to excel in life. My motto was, why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? But you have taken it to another level, Marcus, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for those words, Cheryl. Now, as a result, I have, look, as I've said here, I just set it back there. The Blueprint is definitely making a difference in people's lives, but I'm not going to be so bold as to say that the Blueprint is definitely for everyone, which is why I put this 30-day money-back guarantee on the whole program. And in addition, what I also do is I don't ask for the bonuses back. And I'm about to share with you what those bonuses are. They're worth over $1,500. Now, in terms of the program, in terms of the online program itself, when I do one-on-one coaching, one-on-one coaching is very labor intensive. So one-on-one coaching used to be upwards of $8,000 by the time I'd gone through the whole program, because you're going through these 8 modules, you're doing it, over 4 hours or so for each module, and it can really skyrocket in terms of cost. It can be frightfully expensive. Obviously, the Blueprint program is nowhere near that amount. If I do a speaking gig for 90 minutes, that's around the $2,000 mark. But again, thanks to the internet and its ability to share exactly the same information and more, and it provides accountability in so many different ways, I'm able to offer the Blueprint at what I believe is an exceptionally affordable price, because again, as I said at the beginning, I've taken the feedback of a number of people since launching in September, and that is I've made it more affordable through a different payment plan. So for a limited time, the Blueprint can be yours for a down payment of $97 and 5 monthly payments after that. I'll put this offer up so you guys can see it. You should have that coming up there for you now. If you don't, let me know. But right now, I'm offering it for $97 a month for 6 months, or you can pay, if you want to save a bit of coin, you can do one payment of $4.97. Now, I don't drink coffee regularly, but my hairdresser told me on Wednesday that a coffee is around $4.50 these days, which equates to $31.50 a week. So we're talking less than a coffee a day. You can have this Exceptional Life Blueprint, the peer group, and most importantly, a great opportunity to truly make the rest of your life the best of your life. Now, question is, if you're ready for this, click on the link. Are you ready to make 2015 exceptional? You can see the link there that you see on the screen. If you know you're ready to upgrade your life to exceptional on all levels, then I can absolutely say you'll love the program. Thank you so much for you girls and boys here recommending the program. That is awesome. Laura says, I can highly recommend the program. I've been working through each module during my 6-week holidays, learning so much and loving it. The Facebook group is so supportive too. Nice work. Thank you. Alrighty. Now, what have I said here? I've got the next slide. I've said here, for some of you, this program will feel like just the program you've been looking for, but for others, you probably think it all looks great, but either it's, it might not be worth it for you right now. You might be saying, do I really need it right now? Can I really afford it right now? Maybe next month, maybe next year, whenever. I'm just going to say 2 things. First of all, you know when something's right for you and you know when something's not. I'm not going to put that obscene sales pressure on to go, do it, do it, do it. You know if it's a yes, you know if it's a no. But when it's a no, it's a no. If the top doesn't fit, if the jeans don't fit, if the car's too expensive, if it's just not right, that's totally cool. It's a pretty easy decision. And I highly thank you for coming on the webinar, and I really hope you've enjoyed the value out of tonight's webinar. But if you're thinking it's not the right time, I probably just want to say this, and I particularly say this as a parent because my wife, Sarah, and I often remind ourselves about this when we've got the whirlwind of 2 young children around. There is never a good or a bad time. There's never a right or a wrong time. There is just time. There's just now. We get to choose what we do with our now. We have the gift of writing the script of our life. We're the script writer, we're the director, we're the lead actor in our life. So this is not the time to go fluffing around as an extra, particularly in 2015. You don't want to be an extra in 2015. If you've got big goals and dreams, then you really want to be writing the script of your life. So if you're not sure if it's the right time, I'm probably going to tell you that there's no good or bad time. There's no right or wrong time. So 2015 is a time to playing full out, to living your passion, sculpting your body, connecting with your community, nourishing your body and your life, enjoying your family, learning till it hurts, creating financial independence, and absolutely loving your life and the world around you. Again, whether you join the Blueprint or not, everything that I've said there applies to you. So just consider where you sit. If this is for you, then I recommend make a decision to enroll whilst you can. This is strictly limited. Normally, and I've said this many times before, this Exceptional Life Blueprint program is $14.97. So tonight is going for $1,000 off the ticket price. And I can absolutely say with confidence that this program will never be lower than this price. But as I mentioned earlier, I have the liberty of chucking in over $1,500 in bonuses as well, which again, I believe will delight the senses because there's all different kinds of bonuses in here. First of all, there's 35 hours of Powerhouse Wellness for you. You may know that I conduct the Wellness Summit each year. That includes Pete Evans, Joe Witten of Quirky Cooking fame, David Gillespie, Nicole Bilsma, the Wellness Guys, the Up for a Chat Girls, Cindy O'Meara, Kim Morrison, Karen Smith. You receive the digital video downloads and the audio downloads of this, 35 hours worth. You can access them anytime, anywhere for the rest of your life. Bonus one valued at $591. The second bonus when you enroll in the Blueprint is the digital download of my 100 Not Out program valued at $197. It's a recording of a 6-week program I conducted looking at how the most magnificent people ever to live ate, moved, thought, and conducted their lives. It also comes with a video playlist a mile long to truly empower and inspire you to live a truly exceptional life. Bonus 3 are 2 more online programs, both different in nature. The first is a 30 Days to Wellness program by Dr. Lawrence Tam. This is designed to help you implement 30 magnificent habits into your life in, you guessed it, 30 days. And the second program is Damien Christoph's 28-day Lose Weight with Forage program. These programs combined are valued at $197. So we're now nudging toward $1,000 in bonuses. Bonus 4 is from these 2 gorgeous ladies, Cindy O'Meara, who I absolutely love. You'll receive her 50-page report on the cholesterol scam. And from Kim and Cindy, you receive their ebook called 53 Shades of Chocolate. That is one of my favorites, 53 recipes, all about chocolate in both regular format and Thermomix format. So really there's 106 ways to eat chocolate in there. That's valued at $19. And then bonus number 5, possibly my favorite, is, bring this slide up, Ultimate Accountability Coaching Call with myself. Now, some of my launches and promotions, what ends up happening is some people miss out on these calls, and the softy in me doesn't really like it. So tonight, this is the first time I've done it. The special offer tonight is everyone gets 1 call. Everyone that joins the program gets 1 call, and the first 5 people get 2 calls. That's my way of saying if you're an action taker and you really want 2 calls, because 2 calls gets much more momentum than 1 call, then get in now and enroll in the Exceptional Life Blueprint. But I'm going to give everyone that joins in, if you take a little while to join the program, I'll still do a coaching call with you anyway. My half-an-hour calls are valued at $250 each. So if you get 2 calls, you get $500 worth of value in there. So there are your bonuses, folks. Again, for the first 5 who join up tonight, you will also receive that second coaching call. So let's do a recap here before I share my weird morning ritual with you and answer any of your questions. You get the online program itself valued at $14.97. That's the 14 modules. That's all of the worksheets and fact sheets and videos and resource and reading and everything else. You receive those 5 bonuses: the Wellness Summit home study program, the 100 Not Out program, the 2 online programs, the 2 ebooks, the 2 personal coaching calls with me. Total value just over $3,000, $3,001. You can get started for as little as $97 a month for 6 months, or 1 payment of $497. Whatever works for you best. That is all on all of that. If you've got any questions whatsoever, enter them into the chat box now. If it's about the Blueprint, if it's about tonight's webinar, if you want some table tennis advice, I'm more than happy to give it. If you want to know what I think about the football, more the merrier. I'm in no rush whatsoever. You guys have put the time into me. I'm more than happy to put the time into you. So I'm going to hang around here, give you the time that you deserve. Whilst you put your questions and comments in there, I'm going to tell you this slightly weird morning ritual that is working wonders. Now, it doesn't have to only be a morning ritual. For me at the moment, it's an afternoon ritual, and also because it's hot and sweaty in here, it's hot up here in Byron Bay, and I'll be having this after this ritual. What I'm talking about here is something that I discovered when I was listening to a lot of Tony Robbins interviews at the end of last year, because Robbo was being interviewed a lot due to his book release. He released a book on money last year, and he was being interviewed. So I was listening to all these podcasts of Robbo, and they were always asking him about his morning routine. This is what he said. The one thing that the #1 peak performance coach in the world does every day is immerse himself in cold water. Summer, whilst I see that comment coming through, I don't know, Summer, if it will be available in a few days. That the price really is going to depend on how many people sign up. So it's generally limited to how many people sign up. I'm not going to say that it won't be available tomorrow, because it might be available tomorrow. So if you need some thick music, I'm happy to honor it tomorrow. Let's just say for now, I'm definitely happy to honor it by the end of the week. But yeah, it just really depends on how many people join the program, because there's only so many that I'm prepared to give away at that reduced rate. and again, because it came from a lot of feedback from people that wanted to join the program but wanted a more of a different payment plan. If you remember, the previous payment plan I think was $197 a month, and so essentially for 3 months. So this is essentially $97 a month for 6 months, so it's more affordable. So hope that answers your question. So cold shower, give it a go, seriously. But here's the rules. Don't think about it. Don't rationalize it. Just get out of bed in the morning and run to the shower, because otherwise you come up with all these reasons why not to do it. Put it straight onto cold. Don't draw up the courage to do it. Just go straight onto cold. You won't regret it. Absolutely. Your first cold shower will look like this. You will. You'll look like that. Janet Leigh out of Psycho. But here's what to do. Count to 10. Slow enough though. You'll dance around the shower. If you're anything like me, you're a bit of a wuss in the water and you want it to all be over, but just count to 10. Hop out, put that exercise gear on and get moving. You'll be fresher. You'll need less time to warm up. You'll be so grateful for it. You will absolutely love your new ritual, and you don't have to do it only in the morning. You can do it any time of the day. So that's it, folks. That's me talking like the leg off a chair for 80 minutes. You guys have been fantastic. Leanne said, I did try it, but I had to have a warm shower first, then blast the cold. And you know what, Leanne? A lot of people do that. So if that's what you do and it works, I mean, seriously, it's so cool that you're already doing that. A lot of people ask me about the health benefits of it. I know Tim Ferriss talks about it in the 4-Hour Body. The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. Buy that or borrow it from the local library. It's a big book, but he talks about this, yeah, there's a word for it, cryotherapy. Have a look at it. Cold water therapy. Summer, I really would love to do it, but can't till Friday. That's okay, Summer. If you're until Friday, I'll send an email out, folks, after this webinar with a link to that offer. So it will still work on Friday, Summer. Don't worry about that. Rebecca, thanks so much for tonight. I'm going to have to do a quick financial evaluation to get $97 fit the budget, but it sounds wonderful. No worries, Rebecca. Whatever works. Thank you so much for the love and the feedback. Really appreciate it. As I say, that link will definitely still be up and running. Leanne says it's cold every at the moment. Oh dear, no good at all. I'm coming down to Sydney, fly out tomorrow to have an annual wellness couch meeting with Lawrence and Damien and Brett, and I'm thinking it's going to be a bit colder there as well. Yeah, Laura could do that ritual 10 times a day. I reckon I could as well at the moment, Laura. Good work. It's easier to do when you're in the warmer. Leanne, you probably got more courage than I if you're doing it in the cold temperature at the moment. I used to do it. Do you remember that big gas outage we had in Victoria, Leanne? God, it could have been 10 years ago or even longer. I remember having showers out of a bucket when the gas was out for 2 weeks or so. That was horrendous. My pleasure, Summer. It'd be great to have you on board. So yes, guys, any other questions on any of this or any other questions that you have, pop them in the box here. I'm happy to hang around for as long as you are to answer any questions. As I say, so grateful. This is the closest thing we get to a live event. Let me get my my face back up. See my sweaty face, that's for sure. But yeah, this is the closest thing we get to a live event. So I really love this, and I just love that we can interact. Thank you, Amanda. Human in Sydney. Good work. I'll just bring shorts and a t-shirt then. Xanthi says, apple cider vinegar and lemon in your water is a great way to start the day. Yes. Tell you what, Xanthi, I'll tell you the honest truth here. I have been slack. I've got ACV in this water right now. I've got this big jug here. Might look a bit murky. That's my ACV water in the jug right there. Thanks, Rachel. Glad you liked the webinar. But I do get a bit slack on the morning side of it, but I know it's very important or wiser to have the ACV or lemon in the water at the beginning of the day. What else have we got here? Better scroll back because there were some questions coming up in the middle of the webinar. Sam said, you are so passionate and it is infectious. Thank you, Sam. My pleasure. You're a dead set legend yourself. Tony says, that was a fantastic webinar. I never get sick of your voice because I always learn something new. The content is so motivating and inspiring. Tony, and I've only met you in the flesh once, but I know you're a dead set legend, particularly when you say beautiful things like that. Thank you very much. Laura says, I can highly recommend the program. I think I read that one. Leanne, in and out because of the kids. Oh, well, I've been in and out because my kids keep turning up behind me to see Marcus talk. Oh, that's beautiful, Leanne. I'm touched. So Summer, if you go to exceptionallifeblueprint.com.au, yeah, you'll be asked to enter your email. But again, you're already on the email list. But to get into those videos, you need to enter your email to kind of get in the door, so to speak. Hope that makes sense. Ruth is awesome. Ruth Frith, no longer with us, but we interviewed Ruth Frith on 100 Not Out. If you haven't heard to the wellness count, yeah, that gas shortage was around 1999. That was my school photo, you, Rebecca. 1999. But yeah, Ruth Frith, she was beautiful, and we interviewed her on 100 Not Out when she was 103, 104, and man, oh man, I'll put the link in here. Let me see if I can get it up. It was such a fun interview. She was doing tapping, emotional freedom technique. She was doing tapping, on her way to training or on her way to an event. I'm like, Ruth, you just love to learn, don't you? Like one of her therapists recommended tapping, and so she started doing tapping. I'm like, how good's that? Let me type it in here. Ruth Frith. I'll put the link in the chat box there so you can 100 Not Out 18. Wow, we've done 100 Not Out. How many episodes have we done? A lot. Now let me put it in here. Where are you guys? You're on that window. There's a link to the Ruth Frith interview, I think. Where are we getting there? Okay. From your experience, what was the feeling you got when you knew when you are on your life's purpose? Oh, Xanthia, how long have you got? Okay, so if I start to bore you and you start falling asleep, go and have a look at video 1 in that video series, because I go into it here. But Maya was born 2010. I was reading. I'll go and get you the book. I was reading this book, Healthy at 100 by John Robbins, and it was second page in. I was reading like I am now, second page in, and it was probably 9:30 at night. Maya was asleep, Sarah was asleep, and I was reading all these books, and here it goes. In the study, a large number of middle-aged people were interviewed 6 times over the course of 20 years and asked whether they agreed with such statements as you get older, you are less useful. Remarkably, the perceptions held by people about aging proved to have more impact on how long they would live than did their blood pressure, their cholesterol level, whether they smoked, or whether they exercised. The people who had positive perceptions of aging lived an average 7.5 years longer than those with negative images of growing older. As you can see here, I was highlighting like crazy. This was the epiphany, Xanthia. This is why I tell you this. Negative images not only lead to compromised health and shortened lives, they also are distressing in the present. Dr. Levy's study found that people with negative perceptions of aging were more likely to consider their lives worthless, empty and hopeless, while those with more positive perceptions of aging were more likely to view their lives as fulfilling and hopeful. Now, you can replace the word aging with your future. Most people are scared of getting older. Whether they're 30, they're scared of turning 40. And I found with my media background, with my journalist head, I was thinking the mass media presents a shocking view of aging. And then I was thinking, we had a chiropractic center at the time, my wife and I was thinking every single person that comes in is whinging about their age. I can't do this because of my age. I can't travel because of my age. I don't like my age. Oh gosh, like I'm 35 or I'm 45 or I'm 55. And I was like, dude, like, why are we feeling so bad about our age? This was my epiphany, Xanthia. This was when I was like, I am going to go on a mission to teach people that getting older is a wonderful thing. It is a privilege. It is an honor. And if we're going to do it, because it's a very high likelihood, the centenarians are the fastest growing, age group in the world. A lot of us are going to get to 100. Are we going to do it well, or are we going to do it poorly? And that was 2010. Took me four years, Anthea, just to give a bit of, I suppose it's a word, perspective here. 4 years to go from there to putting the Exceptional Life Blueprint together, but I always knew it was always bubbling. So that's when I decided I was going to do a podcast. So I called Damien Christoph one day, who's Damien and Sarah had studied together. So we already had a connection there. We already sold his forage in the practice. So I had a connection. I said, Damo, let's do a podcast together on aging well, longevity, teaching people or inspiring people to actually want to make the rest of their lives the best of their lives and actually make it happen. And so it's that feeling when I read this and I started highlighting and everything, I was overcome with enthusiasm, with excitement, with yeah. But then obviously there's times where there's fears and where there's, oh my gollies, and can I do that and all the rest of it. But Rowena says, thanks for the session. My pleasure, Rowena. But you'll know whether you're scared or excited, whether that's your path. But if you really feel like you don't know, and I say this to a lot of clients, I say this a lot in the blueprint because it's something that I think is so important to be heard over and over again. Try before you buy. With your life purpose, particularly these days, try before you buy. Someone I spoke to the other day, a client was saying, I really want to do pastured eggs. I want to live on the land here and do pastured eggs. I said, are you sure? And she said, well, I said, are you sure you want to go to the market every weekend with or without your kids, have to deal with the kids, take the eggs? What if the eggs break? What if you've got a wedding on the weekend and you won't be going to the market? You've then got to find someone to do it. Are you ready to run a business? Are you ready to do all of these things? Blah, 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 blah. Are you sure that market life is for you? And I'm a very optimistic kind of guy. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But I was being head coach at the moment, and that's when I turned bad cop. So I said to her, try before you buy. Go down and work at the market for someone selling eggs. Find out what their challenges are. See how it works for them. Do it for a month. Do it for 2 months. You'll know if it really gets you going, you will know that it's something that you really want to do. To give you another example, I've just had a little aha. I did work experience for a radio station when I was 19. It was breakfast radio. I was studying journalism at RMIT in Melbourne. It was breakfast radio. My mum had a friend. It's funny how the world works. If you've ever read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about, I think a Mozzie tried to eat my head. He talks about thin threads. My mum's boyfriend at the time had a friend working at a radio station that was called Sport 97 at the time, and I was lucky enough to get a week's work experience there on breakfast radio. Didn't even get paid for it, just did it. And that's a really big thing with life purpose stuff. Be prepared to do stuff for free just because you want to see if you like it, if you love it. Anyway, I did a week's work experience there, absolutely loved it, and as opportunity has, one of the producers there ended up leaving a short time later, and I was offered a job as an assistant producer, and because I did a week of work for no money, getting up at 4:30 in the morning and working, and that for me was the beginning of almost like realizing that phase of my life purpose, that 7 years of media work, or 8 years, however long it was, of media work, just started from a try before you buy. In my case, it was a week of work experience. Hope that makes sense, Anthony. I know that was a big one, but I hope that helps. Larissa says, I use my kids rather than aging as my excuse for not doing things like exercise. Good work. I use my kids as an excuse, as my excuse. Oh, sorry, I thought that was your motivation. Sorry, Larissa, turn it around. They're your inspiration and your motivation to do it. You exercise because you have kids, because you want to set an example to your kids so that they happily exercise when they're mums, because they want to set the same example for their kids. Get really deep and meaningful about this, about the legacy of what you're sharing with your kids. And when they go, wow, my mummy exercised, then it will almost become a natural for them, because it's amazing what we unconsciously absorb from our parents, isn't it? So get in there and use it as a source of inspiration. Oh, thanks, Leanne. You enjoyed the Abnormal Psychologist interview. Thank you very much. This is truly the stuff of life. Amanda, I'm glad you're with me. This is the stuff of life. I absolutely love it. I'm glad you do too. Emma says, my 3-year-old is still up, so I'm multitasking. It can be a bit complex. I get that. I get that. I see some orders coming through here. Jesse, you've joined the Blueprint. Well done. Thank you. There's a few others coming through there as well. Good on you guys for joining the Blueprint. That's exciting. Great to have you on board. Rowena says, thanks for the session. Rebecca, I'm only a year older. I remember only because I was working at Hungry Jack's at the time. Never eaten it since then. Oh, wow. Why, is that because of gas? Was you talking about gas? Yeah, was that because of the gas? Did it affect all of the food at Hungry Jack's, Rebecca? That's okay, Marcus. That's okay, Rebecca. Your internet's cutting out. We will connect again. I'm 25. This is Anthea. I'm 25. I'm at a bit of a career crossroads. Your advice has been invaluable. We'll be looking into what really gives me that drive. Well, Xanthia, just to give you an idea, there's 10 big things that you can do, 10 big questions that you can ask. I go through a lot of this in the blueprint, but I also have a feeling that I did a whole webinar on this. Let me go into my YouTube account, see if I can find this webinar on discovering your life purpose. Now, again, discovering your life purpose is not a quick fix. As much as we would often love it to be a quick fix and we just get it like that. I wonder if I can find this. Go to the video, online masterclass. 3 months ago. I'll send you this link. This could be it. This could be it. Apologies if it isn't. That could be a webinar I did, Xanthia. But again, if not, I may have just done it for clients only. Sorry if that is the case. But again, if you're interested in doing the blueprint, Xanthia, I do 2 massive sections on life purpose. One's a big interview with Karen Smith. Karen Smith paid me the biggest compliment ever, saying it was the best interview she'd ever been involved with. I was like, hello. No one's ever told me that before. That was awesome. But I do a whole hour on going through a 10-step process to really getting you closer to your life purpose. The other thing, Xanthia, if you go to that video, this is the link to video 1 of that free 4-part video series. And Xanthia, in there is a link to a bit of a life purpose planner. So, yes. Alison says, just amazing stuff. I heard the other week there was a face-to-face day in Byron with those in the blueprint, or was I just dreaming it? Yes, Alison, you're right. For those people that join the blueprint, I'll then send another email inviting the exceptionals to a live event in Byron in June. So there's a live event, Byron, June 20 and 21 at the Byron Theatre. Now, at the moment, I'm a bit on the fence, but at the moment, I'm only inviting those people that join the blueprint itself. That might change. I've got Joe Witten coming to speak from Quirky Cooking. That might change. There might be a bit of pressure in March or so. Joe might be telling me that hundreds of people from her tribe want to come and watch her speak in Byron, and we might open it up. But at this stage, it is an exceptional life blueprint event. It'll be going through all of this content, obviously, and more in a live format. So I'm probably more determined to keep it strictly to this content. So look, times will change. I'm not going to stick to one thing. I might change my mind and open it to the general public come March or so. We'll just see where we're at come then. My pleasure, Xanthia. I'm glad that helps. I've probably overwhelmed you guys with all of this information, but again, just take it simple. Absorb what feels good for you. Absorb what doesn't. Don't absorb what doesn't. Chuck in a bin what doesn't. Read the books that work. Don't read the books that don't. Watch the videos that work. Don't watch the videos that don't. I'm cool with that. I know this isn't for everyone, but as Amanda says, this is the stuff of life. All right, I don't see any other questions coming through here. If you've got any more, chuck them in. Thanks, Laura. As always, really enjoyed the webinar. I need to put the kiddies to bed, so heading off. My pleasure. Thanks so much, Laura, for joining in. Really loved having you guys on the webinar tonight. I don't see any other questions coming through. So, yeah, no, it will be an awesome event, Alison. But, yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. If you're not, are you in the blueprint? Sorry, I've got so many people in there. I often forget people's names. But pardon me if you're in it and I'm not recognizing the name. But if you do join, just know that you will get a separate email inviting you to the event as well. Guys, really want to say massive thank you. Mwah. Kisses, hugs. Really big thank you for joining this webinar tonight. It's been absolutely phenomenal. I've absolutely loved it. Hope you have too. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Make it an absolute perler. And as I like to say, as always, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.